So I told you the story about how I started working for Dr. Lanier, and I actually worked with him when he had just opened up. I don't remember what number office this was, but he opened up the office in Oxnard, California. And at that time, I was living in West LA. So the drive was about an hour at most. So it wasn't a bad drive. So I started doing some days out there, and I kind of would rotate around to the different offices. I enjoy working with Dr. Lanier. He's like a very supportive guy, very kind, very approachable, and just very easygoing. I think he made it very easy to work for him because you can always tell him how you felt, and he listened and he respects you. And he just was full of knowledge, very knowledgeable, and that was a good thing with working with Dr. Lanier. He's very smart, very business minded. He knows a lot about business. One day I sat and talked to him, and he was throwing out these things about business, and that just made my head spin. So very smart guy. Just very hands-on. I believe like Dr. Lanier didn't fear getting in there when he needed to. And if you ever reached out and said you needed help with anything, he definitely would be available and helped out. Like I said before, very respectful. I think very understanding. If you told him about a situation, some people would just be like, whatever, get over it. Where Dr. Lanier understood and saw different sides of it, and I think he was very understanding. I think he's very fair, and just a very kind person. I think he's very knowledgeable. I am a pediatric dentist, so when I came in, I had a lot of the book knowledge, and I had some of the clinical experience, but not to the extent that I obtained while working there. But I also was there when you have like GPs that may come in and didn't do a lot with peds, and just to see the growth in them, where they go from not even knowing what a space maintainer is and its purpose to now being able to make one in less than like 30 seconds. So I definitely think he's very knowledgeable, and you learn definitely pediatric dentistry while you were working at Kids Dental Care. And as a peds dentist, I actually can say I was very impressed with his knowledge, not only in pediatric dentistry, but just in business, very knowledgeable. And I think, he mastered pediatric dentistry. My confidence went up from working with Dr. Lanier, and my speed. I was uber slow once I first started, and he was just understanding. He actually was like, I have doctors who are here for on different levels, and he respect that. I came in with doctors that have been working with him for 20, 30 years, or just working in the field of dentistry 20, 30 years. And it's like, here it is. I'm a new grad. And just because you have specialists behind your name, people, I think you got to come with, a certain level of skills. And that wasn't necessarily the case. And Dr. Lanier was very understanding and very helpful through that, and made it comfortable for me while at Kids Dental Care. Like I said, I seen him start where you have these GPs who may have never worked in pediatric dentistry, but yet they get out and they master it just from what they learned while working at Kids Dental Care. So I definitely think that his approach and kind of how he groomed us to approach pediatric dentistry is definitely good, and it was definitely helpful. When I first started, and very early on, just speed, like very slow, and these doctors were doing incredible work, great work, and at a very quick level. So I get in there and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. They're working so fast. This is like, gotta be some kind of voodoo. So I just felt inadequate. And so I remember it was one Saturday I worked in Oxnard, and I got off and I just sat in my car and sent Teresa this long email and just told her, like, I definitely felt like I was more of a liability than anything, and that I was resigning. And she never replied back. She didn't even say like, hey, I'm forwarding it over to Dr. Lanier. It's just that Monday came and I was on the schedule to work at Paramount location. And I'm like, well, I haven't heard anything. And of course I cannot just not show up to work. So I go to work, and, hopefully at some point I get to talk to Dr. Lanier. Well, when I get there, I see this nice car parked outside, and I'm like, well, if Dr. Lanier is here and he's going to take over my shift, they could at least told me. And so then I walk in and he's like, "Hey, doc, just the person I wanted to see." And he takes me outside and he just has his heart to heart with me, and tell me, like, he understands where I'm starting from, and he understands that I may not have the speed and all the knowledge at this point, and that's part of what he's here for, is to help mentor me and help groom me to be, the best dentist I can be. And I really appreciated that. Like, I really feel like, a lot of times when you go to work, you're just there to make them money. And when someone actually cares and says, like, I am willing to, work with you, even if you're not producing what I have other doctors producing, or what I may be putting into you, I'm not necessarily getting out of you. I realize that I see your potential. And I think with the time and the practice, you will get there. And for him to have that faith in me and be willing to put in that work and kind of have that faith in me, I really appreciate that.